So, Lydia, considering that you really like strolling through a bookstore to get yourself something new to read, how important is a cover for you?
I mean, it's essential to have a good cover on your book because that's the first thing that a reader is going to see. That is the first thing that a potential buyer is going to see is your cover. So it is absolutely imperative that you have a cover that not only matches your jacket flap copy, the little blurb that you read of what the book is about, but that is eye-catching and, it fits with the tone of the book. So I would say for the initial buy, it is the most important thing. If you buy the book because the back book blurb and the jacket, the cover, they match and they're, it makes you buy the book. And then as you're reading the book and you realize, the cover doesn't really fit, well, then it becomes a little, you can kind of, all right, form this own image in your mind of what the book is, what that initial image might represent. But as far as getting someone to stop and pick up your book, the cover is the very first thing that's going to make that happen. So like when I'm browsing in a bookstore, I have some pretty particular tastes as far as reading. I mean, I have my authors who, I think there's like 20 of them that I just automatically buy the book when I know a new one is coming out. I haven't yet seen a cover that I don't like from them, but they're all also traditionally published. So, I mean, they have, they have some pretty phenomenal, and a few of them I actually follow their artists online, and I get little snippets of, the cover teasers. But if I'm in a bookstore, I love any books about travel. History usually makes me stop and go, depending on which countries I'm interested in at the time, and the travel and the history and the culture of those countries. Haunted houses, I am a total sucker for haunted houses. So it's, I see an old abandoned mansion or house or something like that on a cover and I'm going to stop. Yep. And I'm going to start to read the jacket copy. And then if it doesn't match with the haunted house kind of creepy house vibe, then I'm like, where, like last week I was looking at one and I absolutely loved the cover. I was like, oh, it's a haunted house and I'm in the mood for, witchy autumn Halloween type stuff. And I started reading and the book was all about politics. And I'm like,
really?
Yeah, it was. I was like, I'm not really interested in reading about politics. I get enough of it in social media and the news and all of that. So it was an automatic. The cover did not match what the story was about at all.
Is that a recent development though? Because I've seen a lot of stuff, passing the newsfeed on, for example, Twitter or even Instagram, where people complain about how covers are used to sort of mislead people into thinking a book is about one thing. A very quick example, which is also a very relevant example, is that people are using artwork that shows us, for example, black characters, while there are hardly any black characters in the book. So they're using it, to sort of make us think, oh, this is really a thing, but it isn't. So what do we do with that?
I mean, yeah, I think there are some people out there who really sort of manipulate the cover to try to be eye-catching based on current trending things in news and social media and stuff like that. Social movements, that's like you just pointed out, that's a really big thing. And it's really crappy when they do that. Because, if you're looking specifically for books about, social movement and civil unrest and things like that, and you pick this book up and thinking, you're looking at the cover and it's really got, some of those features on the cover, and then you start and you realize that that's not actually what the book is about, you're going to put it down. So I know, and you're the graphic artist here, so you can speak a little bit more on this. Book covers are sort of evolving, I think, in that we're seeing a lot more symbolism as opposed to just straight up, like a picture of a haunted house. We did it with my books, and we'll get into that. We can get into that a little bit later, but yeah, they're becoming more abstract. I think I've seen a lot of that lately. It's sort of a trending
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, but that's going two ways. Like there is one group of writers who is really teaming up with conceptual artists, and exactly they are very abstract in what they come up with. But at the same time, especially in the fantasy and sci-fi genre, there is a lot of really heavy-duty artwork going on, which I personally love. But there seems to be like a split up between where you can go. You either go fully abstract or you go full artwork at this point. And I personally think that this movement goes hand in hand with how self-publishing is growing right now, because, well, there is a discussion about the quality of self-published work, because who is going to check if it is the right quality, etc., etc. I mean, we've had this conversation in one of our earlier episodes. And the thing is that you can nowadays, because covers are so important, you can draw someone in with a really, really, a bang up cover, while the story might not be so good. So, this creates a sort of counter movement, because when you see a cover that looks so good, somewhere in the back of your head, you're going to have that voice saying, there must be something wrong with this book because they have so much on this cover. There's duality in there.
Right. I mean, I think, you're going to get that in both traditionally published, you could have an amazing graphic designer and the book isn't all that great. I've seen that. Yeah. And likewise, we can't just bash on self-published authors, especially, another thing that I have seen is pre-mades, what are called pre-made covers, and they're these artists and they're putting together these covers, and then writers are buying the covers based on what they see and then writing the story to the cover. So that's a really interesting sort of twist on that, and
almost like a writing prompt or something.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool it's a cool trend, and then it's like at least their book is gonna match the cover. So that's a really neat thing. And then we've seen some pre-made covers and some that haven't been so great. And again, case in point, we'll look at mine later. But you also have what do you call them? The not cut and paste, the click art. No.
Oh, when I have the stock images all just piled up together. Yes, I love stock images.
Yes, so there's
Don't get me started.
amazing covers with stock images, and then there are others where it's very noticeable that this was sort of rushed through, and it could be better, and I don't know anything about blending or anything like that, but so for someone who doesn't know about that, it's not quite as noticeable. So there, like I said, I'm browsing through a store and I'm looking at books and stuff like that, and I'm picking up a book based on visually what appeals to me. So like I like really bright colors or something very, very dark. So like an emerald green or a royal blue, that will make me stop and look at the cover. Those are a couple of my favorite colors. And so I'm like, especially if I'm in my preferred sections, bargain books and the fantasy section. And yes, I will cop to, the romance section, but that one, you've only got so many bare chests on the covers before I just sort of start passing them all off. Sorry, I know. I know in the romance genre that is what sells for me personally. I just, I keep going, and I might find one. I remember a long time ago reading a Julie Garwood, and she had like jewels or something on the cover, and that made me stop and pick up the book. And it was a really good romance story. But yeah, I've read my fair share of, bodice ripper, chest on the cover, all that
I
stuff.
saw a book cover once, and it was, I will never forget it. I mean, it's in my eyes still. There was this guy, and he was, of course, bare-chested, and his chest was way too big for my taste. But anyway, and there was this exploding mountain behind him, and there was this baby laying, cradle in front of him, and I was like, I don't even want to guess what this book is about. But Oh,
I'm
man.
gonna give them a little bit of shout out. I do like their podcast, Smart Bitches Trashy Books, and they take covers like this, and it's hysterical.
Yeah.
So if you get a chance to listen to them rip on some romance cover, it's so funny. But being also a romance author, I do understand that those covers are the ones that sell. They really are what make up the market and what gets somebody to say, "Ooh, that's a nice chest, nice chest." So I'm gonna pick up.
I'm
So
gonna
we
pick up
can't
that
really
chest.
bash on them too hard, but
No, of course.
guilty as charged. But
And
likewise, something very dark. Like if you give me a skull, like I said, the haunted house. If I've got a black cover with a jeweled dagger or something, I'm going ooh, and I'm gonna So that's a little bit of mystery. If you've got some mystery on your cover, and your cover should fit your genre. So a cozy mystery, I don't want to see, a skull with a snake coming out the eye socket. That's not a cozy mystery genre cover. They're more the I don't remember who wrote it, but like Cupcake Murders or Bake Murders and stuff like that. And they're the cartoon, almost cartoon-like colors, and they're pastels. So those fit with a cozy mystery. So yeah, you want your cover to fit your genre as well. That's very important. And I'm gonna go ahead and you interject here.
No, yeah, I'm just thinking. I mean, we have discussed this now from the point of view where you buy books, but you are obviously also a writer. You have published a couple of books. You have worked with publishing houses. You have worked with artists that you found online. You have worked with a professional artist. What do you prefer and why?
I mean, you've done a lot of cover work over the years, and you're currently designing the Hellfire series.
Mm-hmm.
So you as a professional, I do enjoy working with you. I have a little more say in working with you in what I want in a cover. This coming from my experience at a literary agency, most traditionally published authors do not have a say in their cover in a traditional house. I think they might be able to do cover briefs, creative briefs of what they have in mind. Yeah. And the cover, designer will take that into consideration when designing the cover, but there is very little say and influence in a publishing house of what goes on your cover. So just, if you're self-published and you're working with a graphic designer, you get all of the say.
All freedom, yeah.
You are paying for this cover to be able to put on your book. If you're going with a traditional publisher, just keep in mind that you probably don't have a lot of hold over what goes on.
That's going to be a thing if I ever get traditionally published. I mean, I am a graphic designer. I'm going to look at those covers and go, no, and this needs to change, and that needs to go there. And then they're like, oh, where did we get started with this?
Right. Well, being a graphic designer, can you kind of, tell us a little bit about how the process works?
Yeah, sure. So for me, the most important part is where I get into a conversation with the writer. I want to know the general idea of the story. I don't need to read the book. Some artists do. They just want to have a copy and they want to read it to get into it. For me, the essence is enough. I mean, you as a writer know best of all people what your book is about, so tell me. And then from there, I usually set up a couple of color schemes, color schematics, so that with the colors you define the atmosphere. So that's the first important process. From there, I usually make up some sketch mock-ups, like this goes there. This is what I'm thinking about picture-wise, because I am one of those art cover designers. So if you hire me to create a cover, you hire me to actually make like a full art piece for the book.
Yeah, I remember doing the Hellfire series and just having these ideas, and I see these things in my head and I can describe them in words to you, but it would be like you would take that as a writer yourself and pull something from that I just absolutely astounding. I didn't even think I needed that element I remember with South of Heaven, West of Hell's Bells, and I'm talking, and I'm like, she's really making a gamble on life, and there's fire, and there's demons, and there's, and this and that, and you come up with, the poker table, and and I was just, and I've got fire, and I've got demons and stuff like that on a deck of cards. And it just, that would have never occurred to me to pull that. But as as an artist, as a graphic designer, just the fact that you can take an idea and create this almost entirely new concept to be able to bring out all the little nuances of that idea. I would have never even gone with gambling. And
the thing is, it's not even about actual graphic skills here. I mean, the largest part of getting this done is by listening. I just listen to what you say. You can talk to me for about an hour, and I'm going to take everything in. And this is also the way my brain functions, because if you tell me a story, I'm watching a movie inside of my head. I see everything in pictures. I hear in images. It sounds weird, but that's just how it is. So the more you tell me, the more these images start, to come. So for me, the connection between their gambling with the lies and there's fire and for me, this is a 1 and 1 equals 2, and then again, and there's the risk of the artist, because I could also have made something and you looked at it and go, this is nope. That's the biggest nope. And that's a risk you have to take as an artist. So yeah, it means you're going to spend a lot of time to get that concept worked out and to make sure it turns into a cover. But at the same time, you take that risk of spending that time on something that is not going to work, and you're going to have to start all over again. And depending on whether you are working with someone, who knows the job, or someone who's just doing something and calling themselves a graphic designer, because these people are out there. These people are a proper cover artist is going to say, look, okay, so it's like writing. You get a couple of rounds of revision also on the cover work. I think that's very important. I mean, how many hours have we spent just tweaking that one cigarette burn, going from one corner to the next? And
yeah, I that brings up a good point in the quality and the cover, is it being worth it, and the hours spent, because a lot of times on social media I see I need cover, and one of the things with self-published authors, and again, this is not bashing on self-published authors, I am one, they need a cheap cover. Because they're expensive, and so you want to be sure that you're being respectful and you're paying your cover designer, because it is a skill, and it's not a skill that everybody possesses. But at the same time, you've got a self-published author who might not have the biggest budget to be able to so then you're looking at writers who are going to those pre-made covers, or they're going to the stock image covers, and and that's what they're doing. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but you have to look at cost versus quality, and is it worth it? Like I saw on social media the other day, somebody was asking a question in a group, and they said that this graphic designer was really well known. There was a wait list, and one of his covers was $2,000 just for one cover.
It happens.
And yeah, and so the community came in and they had a lot of great points of, are your other books selling out enough to cover the cost? Do you think you can sell this book enough to cover the cost of the? So
is it an investment that's going to earn itself back? Like I can buy, or I can write a really crappy book and wrap it up in a really nice cover, but if it's not going to sell, if by the end of the day, for me, it's not worth the money, then I'm not going to spend $2,000. On the other hand, though, if I know that my writing is not fantastic, or even if I write a perfect book, and I self-publish it, there is a risk that it's not going to sell. But if I find it's worth it, what's keeping me from spending the $2,000?
Right. I mean, you then get into a whole host of things in terms of your budget and the cover and the costs for editing and marketing. Just because you have an amazing cover does not mean that book is going to sell.
No, exactly.
You have to market. Yeah. So this is all when you're talking about if you have an amazing cover, does that help? Absolutely.
Mhm.
100% absolutely. But yeah, so that's kind of the first step towards making sure that, you know, your book is something that you're going to earn back
Yeah.
that
Yeah. It's the
over.
first investment in your book. Yeah, that's right.
So it's, you know, when considering publishing your book and stuff like that, you really need to take all of this into, you know, all of these factors into consideration. So.
Yeah, I agree.